Well, hello and greetings to all of my Cubase Behringer X32 Midas 32 users. All right, guys. All right. I know you've been wondering, okay, how far has this guy gotten with version 12? I got some good news and I got some bad news. Let me start with the bad news. Let me get that out the way first. The bad news is version 12 has a bug in it. They are aware of it. They did an update. I didn't get the update yet. It's 12.0.220. But those who do have it said it still did not fix the problem. And what is that? The problem is the remote part of Cubase version 12 does not send out fader information. So the fader in Cubase, like if you're going from Cubase to the mixer, the fader does not move the mixer fader. Okay. But when I'm building these things out, I'll deal with that later. My main thing is getting the Behringer X32 to control various functions of Cubase. So I had to do things a little bit different. And so what I did was, as you can see here, you have 16 faders, mutes, and knobs. Okay. And so what I did was I'm still working, I'm still tweaking it, but I made it to where we're going to be using banks, meaning we're going to be banking left, banking right. And that is a part of the set B and set C of the assigned section. So as you see, we have our 16 faders up here. Now, what this does when we use the bank function is it doesn't matter how many tracks you have. You'll be able to go through all the tracks. Okay. Also, on set C, now this is set B. Remember, I told you set A on the assigned section. So what's the assigned section? Let me see if I get this camera on it. All right. So on the X32, the assigned section is the section with the knobs, the little window, and the 8 buttons underneath. Okay. That's the assigned section. You have a set A, a set B, and a set C. And I told you set A, I don't mess with because those are pre-set up in the X32. And I use those when the performer come so that I can give them delay and reverb. So I didn't disturb those settings, but I am using set B and set C. Get that down on there close like that. Okay. So on the screen, what you're going to see on the screen is right under the faders, there's this block where you see the loop mechanism, the stop, the play, and record. That's set B. And then next to that is set C. So I'm going to talk about what these functions do, okay? Of course, with set B, that's your cycle, okay? That's going to be your cycle function. And then this next one, of course, is the stop button. See if I can get the video on there and do this at the same time. Then there's your play button. And as you can see on the screen, it is playing. Then we can stop it. I got to stop it from going back to the beginning. I got to figure out how to stop it from doing that. I don't like that. And then, of course, record. And when you hit record, it starts to play. But you can also do punch ins and out manually this way as well. Below that, you will see we're jumping from left marker to right marker. Okay. And stop. Then this is the monitor button. So when you push that button, you're monitoring the selected channel. You can monitor it. And the selected channel, you can set it to record enable. Okay. That's what that section is for. Section B. We go to set C. Set C deals with banking. Okay. Top level is banking and individual tracks. So you can go to individual tracks. The next line deals with turning the metronome on and off. And I have if you see on the screen, on the remote thing on the screen, you see there's a knob below that. That is a volume control. I'm going to take that off. See how it's jumping? I don't like that. But I realized the compact and the producer does not have these 4 knobs. Okay. We're going to be using faders to control the level of the metronome as well as the level for the control room. All right. So metronome on and off. If you are on an instrument track, this brings that instrument up. This one right here. Then number 11 brings up the track edit. And C12 brings up the big mixer. Okay. So you can see the big mixer. Now, what is it? Matrix over here. Over here, we know we have the dial remote button at the top. I don't know how it is on the compact. I think they're similar on the compact and producer. We have group, bus, and the matrix. Again, I'm using the matrix to control the sends of the selected channel. Okay. And for whatever reason, Behringer does not use number 7. So we skip number 7. We go to number 8. And so number 8 is going to be the 7th send. So we got that working. The mute buttons above it turn that send on or off for the selected channel. Okay, we're going to see that in a minute. And here is the good part. I finally, with version 12, we can control plugins. And I figured out a way to do it with the X32. So this is how we're going to be controlling plugins. They have a new feature on there called Focus. Quick Control Focus, meaning when you open up a plugin, that plugin becomes the focus. You can turn on quick controls from that for that plugin, and now you can control it. So since we're using individual track movements and bank track movements between tracks, we're only going to be using the first 16 faders set on 1 through 16, channels 1 through 16. We're only going to be using those for mixing. Okay. So that leaves us 16 channels if we push the channel, channel 17 to 32. If we push that, that leaves us with 16 faders to work with. So you know what I decided to do? The first 8 faders will be controlling the plugins. We're going to see that here in a minute. As you can see on the screen, you see these little values changing. Okay. Those are actually plugin values depending on the plugin. All right. And so that gives us 2, 4, 6, 8. That gives us 8 more faders to do something else with. So you guys tell me in the comments what you would like. I was thinking 4 of those could be Q sends for the selected channel. We need that. Now, the reason why I'm going to get away from using these 4 knobs because, like I said, the compact and the producer do not have these knobs. And so I'm just not going to use them anymore. And since we're going to use banks, we're going to use, they have buttons just like this, but they have more buttons. You know, they have 1 through 8, 9 through 16, 17 through 24, and 25 through 32. So by doing it that way, everybody's can use the same template and it should work. Same thing should work for the Midas 32. All right, so let's look at the mixer. Well, let's look at the big mixer. So I'm on set C. So if I get that video, I'm on set C. It's highlighted, and I'm going to hit this button to bring up the mixer. All right. So the mixer, as you see, I got it squinched in so I can see as many tracks as possible. All right. So watch what happens. Okay, these are the individuals. I can use this right here to jump to individual tracks. It's a lot faster. I had it on the rotary knob, and I love that. But the rotary knob in version 12 is acting crazy, so it's not reliable. We can't use it. But we can. So I made these 2 buttons right here. So if you have an instrument like this 32, see that's 33, and then it stops there. So this is the instrument. So I can go down here to C10 and I can bring that instrument up. Okay. Then track edit. Let me see. Now what I do like is when it's in track edit, as I am moving, you will see it change on the track edit, saving you time, saving you a whole lot of time. Okay. I like that. So let's look at, you see here, I have the vintage compressor, and I have an SSL. So let's open up this vintage compressor. Here is the new thing that is inside of Cubase 12. The top right corner, you're going to see the letters QC. If you tap that and turn it on, it activates the quick control for the compressor. By default, they come pre-programmed. You can reprogram them yourself. So as you see, if I move the input, you see the knob up here is moving. If I move the attack, that knob is moving. If I turn on this button, you'll see that turned on there. The release, that's that button. The auto is that one. The mix is that one. And the output is that one. So you can use 8 quick controls. And then this right here is a quick control, which we're about to see. So what I did was, now that they have this, now we can go over here and watch on the screen. I'm going to switch to, I'm on the X32 core. I'm going to switch to channels 17 through 32. All right. So I'm on channel 17 through 32. And again, we're not getting any information back from Cubase yet because they got to fix that. So watch what happens when I move this fader. See, I'm controlling the input of the compressor. The second fader is controlling the ratio. The higher up I go, it moves all the way up to 20. The third fader is controlling the attack time. The fourth fader is controlling the release time. This fader is controlling the auto on and off. You go all the way up till it cuts on. The next fader is the punch on and off. And then the last fader, oh, not the last. The next fader is the mix knob. And then fader number 8 is the output knob. So we are now controlling, I love this. We are now controlling plugins and probably instruments too, using the faders on channels 17 through 32. It's really the first 8 because all you have is 8. So I can make settings to this compressor. Okay. I can make settings. Then when I come off this compressor, I can go to another plugin. I'm gonna go here to the SSL. And as you see, I can, well, it's already set. It's turned on. I'm controlling the SSL with the faders. Okay. And I can't remember, do I have to turn this on or is it just, I think it's kind of like already built in when I brought it up. Now I'm hoping that when they fix the bug, that when I bring this up and it's communicating with the mixer, where's my output fader at? Okay, now this is a good example right here. This guy right here, you can only have 8 controls, okay? Because the quick channel or quick control only does 8. So you can, by default, you see what comes up. But if you don't like that, if you want to say control these red knobs, because I don't think they're being controlled by anything, not the red knobs. Okay. You can change what you control by hitting this button. I'm not going to mess with it, but by hitting this button and then clicking on the control and then moving the fader, and it will reassign that fader to that knob. So if you want to relay out this particular plugin a specific way on the fader, you can do that. And see, I thought that I had to have that open, but I don't think I do. No, I don't. So when you bring a plugin in, let's go get another plugin. Let's get a off-brand. Let's see. Let's get an off-brand plugin. Yeah, let's look at see what happens. This is Reaper's plugin. Let me see if by default. Oh, okay. So boom. So by default, when stuff first comes in, it has, and these are jumping a little bit too much. They're too sensitive. I don't know if there's a setting for that, but I did when I set it up. I did set it to be scalable. I made everything scalable. So it doesn't matter what the plugin is. I don't want to get one of these bad plugins and it crashes. Pitch proof. Doesn't matter what the plugin is. As soon as you load it up and they bring it to the front, you got controls of it, depending on, you know, the manufacturer and how it's set up. And again, you can go in there. Look at that. I like that, man. I don't even have to. If you notice, I'm not using. The only thing I'm using the mouse for is to open up the plugin. Now I could. This takes 12. Let's see, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, this takes too many controllers to control this. But I thought about using the faders to control these. But it's more important to me that the faders control these doggone plugins. I love that. So what about an instrument? So let's turn that off. And let's go over to the instrument track, which is that one. Let's bring up the instrument. Let's see what happens with the instrument. Okay, so there are, as you can see, I'm moving. That's fader number 2. This is fader number 3. Okay, fader number 4. Fader number 5. I don't see anything moving. Oh, there it is down at the bottom. Master sweep. Under the master, ambience control. Okay. Volume control. And number 8. What is number 8 controlling? That latch. Okay. So even the instruments, because I don't know how they did it. I didn't program none of these. So as soon as they came up, they were activated. All right. So you see the mixer. So I'm going to play with the matrix so you can see what happens. We are on the matrix. That's that last button on the bottom. That means all of these, all 7 of these, because that number 7 don't work by default. So all of these control, see it up there? All of these control the send values for the selected track. And since the selected track is the instrument track, that's the one that we see the sends for. So let's go down here and let's turn them on. I'm hitting the mute button, and now we can control the levels for that track. We're getting more and more control over the session with version 12. We're getting more and more control. The biggest thing to me was the being able to control plugins and instruments. That is the biggest thing. All right. And again, you guys tell me, what should I use these last 8 for? Again, 4 of them can be used for Q sends, you know, and then the last 4, we can figure out what we want to use those for. So this is getting good. This is making this device more and more applicable to complete control of Cubase. Of course, we're going to be totally controlled. Now, there's another feature in Cubase, and maybe, let's see, maybe we can, the last 4 can be used for different things. Oh, I know what I was going to do. 2 of these, and this is, again, this is channels 17 through 32. 2 of these, one was going to be metronome volume, and the other one was going to be control room volume. Okay. So that basically leaves us with 6. Okay. That leaves us with 6 faders that we can assign. And if we do Q sends, which some people use, some people don't. If you're doing large bands, you may use all 4. If not, you may only be using 2. So I want some suggestions from you guys. I don't use the Q sends because my headphone mix is coming from the Behringer itself. So I don't use the Q sends. But you guys tell me what you would like these last 6 faders to be used for. The other feature was the fact that if you hover over a knob, you can assign a control for it. If you hover over a knob. So maybe one of these could be where if you move the mouse over a knob, maybe that fader can now control that knob. Maybe we can do that. And again, when you go up here to channels 1 through 16, those now control the mix. Now, you'll see that it's on, what's that, 18? But I'm at the first one, very first one. It's on 18. That's because of the banks right here. You see it's moving. It's acting weird. I got to figure that out. But let me see. I don't know. I don't know if I like the banks. What I wanted the bank to do was if I bank over, and I think I got it set to, it's banking by 1. I need it for the bank by 16. So that when I hit the button, I got 16 faders, or maybe even 8. Bank it by 8. You guys tell me, what would you like to see? Where if you hit the bank button, it will move 8 faders at a time, or 6. Right now I got it on 16. Well, right now it's doing all 16, but it's doing them 1 at a time. That way, if you got a large mix, and I also have to figure out how in the world when I bank it moves. That way, if you open up the mixer and you bank, right now it's doing it 1 by 1. Yeah, got to change that. It will. I want it to follow. So if I If I got 8 faders on the screen and I hit bank 8, the next 8 will show up on the screen. That's what I want. This guy right here, though, one at a time is my favorite. One at a time, because one at a time you will notice it will move. I think, yeah, it'll move the mixer. But sometimes you need to jump somewhere real quick. And I see that it's only doing tracks. Whereas the bank thing, I got to get that fixed. But the bank thing was doing everything. It was doing groups and effects. And this used to go over to groups and effects. I don't know. And maybe it is. Let me slide it over. Maybe the mixer's just not moving. No, it's not doing it. It was before, but it's not now. So got to look into that. So it's a little ways to go, a long ways to go, actually. But you guys tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. We're getting closer. I hope Steinberg fixes the fact that if I move a fader, let me go over here to setup. Now, in my setup screen, let's see if I can get this on here. I don't think I can. Let me see. Let's look at X edit. Is it connected? I don't know if it's connected. It says connect. I think it found it. I want to go from mixer to PC. This is the X edit. Maybe we can see some things a little bit better. I don't know. I was trying to look at what exactly. I forgot what I was going to look at. But anyway, got a ways to go, people. So, but it is coming along. I almost gave up on it. You know, I really did. So I'm hoping that, I know what I was going to do. I was going to show you, and I don't know if this shows this or not. Routing setup. Mixer. Yeah, it does right here. This is what I want to show you. As you can see, I'm only transmitting. I'm transmitting fader, channel, and mute. What's funny is if I turn on receive fader, the faders will fight. They'll lock up and fight. So it's sending data back, but let me see. It's just weird how it's doing it. Okay, so they need to work that out. I really need for them to work that out. All right, so let's go over here. I think it's 17. Let's go down to 17 real quick. There's 17. So you see it's 17. If I mute it, oh, that's right. It's based on the banking. Okay. Let me go all the way down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like the banking function. Banking is supposed to end at 17. Oh, I got the faders off. Okay. All right. So I have to look at that banking. Looks like I got something wrong. All right. So that's 17 and 16. As you can see, I'm pressing the mute button on 17 and it's happening on the screen, right? Okay. So in Cubase, if you see, if I mash the mute button in Cubase, it's doing the same thing on the Behringer. So that works fine. Now I have 17 selected. So now let's look at the pan control for this. So if I go up here on 17 and move the pan, you see it's sending it down to the Behringer. Okay. So that part works. But for some reason, and this was brought up in the forum, the fader is not going out at all. So the fader is not being sent out back to the mixer, even though I have it turned on to do so. See, I got the fader set to receive, but the fader is not, it's not coming back at all to the mixer. And that's what they got to work on. Okay. And of course, the fighting faders. Let me see. I thought, not that one. I thought when it come to the fighting faders, it has something to do with MIDI. Let's go to projects. No, preferences. And in MIDI, see, I have MIDI through off. I used to think that was an issue. And it could be somewhere else in here where MIDI is going right back out and coming right back in. And that could be causing the, when you turn both of those on, it that's could be what's causing the the faders to lock up on each other. So, you know, if I turn on that, in version 11 is fine, but if I turn this on and move a fader, it starts fighting with itself. I don't know if you can hear that, but this joker is fighting with itself. And it won't move up or down. All right, so if I turn that off, it goes away. Remote interface. And MIDI out. Never saw that. Controlled fader bank. Oh, that's the Mackie. No, that's the one. See, that's a control I never saw in here before. Doesn't stop the fader from acting stupid though. So that's where we're at. They have to fix that fader situation. And I'm looking at some other possible solutions for that MIDI through issue. All right, guys. Hope this has helped. See you when I got more to report about.